Well, thank you so much. My greatest pleasure is being able to talk to all the great listeners and people out there and to be able to stand up for what's right. Doesn't mean we're perfect. Doesn't mean that any of us, get it done 100% right. But at least we're going in the right direction. Our heart's in the right place. And we're having a lot of success. And if more people get involved in fighting tyranny, we can defeat this. What's on your mind, Linda?
Stuff. And, it took me forever to get through to you because millions of people listen to you, Alex, and millions of people try and get through on the phones. And that is a good sign that the numbers are increasing every day, and we have a chance to beat the tyranny and the fascism that is trying to take over our country.
We do have a chance.
We have a big chance because they are only a very small minority, 13 families in charge, maybe 100-something extended from that, and there are millions of us, millions and billions of us.
There are less than 20 ruling families.
Yeah. So we have this opportunity. We cannot let them intimidate us with things like what they're doing with tasering and the TSA.
Oh, that's another point. Think of how they've introduced tasers, and now they do it if they don't like your attitude. I mean, this is a cattle prod. These are killing people, and they don't care. They just keep doing it. Every couple days, I see where they taser autistic kids or blind kids or retarded kids because they don't answer questions right, or where they shoot retarded kids in the back. I mean, they're really trying to just set the precedent to do to us whatever they want. And we've got to, as I said, it's simple. Just start saying no, no, no.
Yes, and that's why I'm calling. One of the chief murderers who brought in what's going on is George W. Bush.
Yes.
And he has killed, allegedly, just millions of people in Iraq, and because of the lies that he spoke to the American people, there are over 5,800 of our soldiers dead in Iraq and Afghanistan, and of course many innocent civilians.
Hundreds of thousands have been getting sick or dying from the last several wars. Soft kill DU.
I can't stand George W. Bush. I have been working with Vincent Bugliosi, and I called district attorneys in Alaska, California, Oregon, Vermont, Texas, trying to find someone who had the balls to arrest and prosecute George W. Bush. Now I think we have an opportunity, Alex, with the change of the attorney generals and governors and new DAs, to actually find someone who will prosecute George W. Bush.
Well, I've seen calls from prestigious organizations for criminal charges against Cheney and Bush. Nigeria caught Cheney making payoffs to people for Halliburton, and then they tried to make another payoff to get him out of trouble. It's come out that that's illegal as well. But absolutely, even though George W. Bush is just a big minion, if you can ever bring a George Bush to justice or a Dick Cheney or a Barack Obama for their treason, and Obama's just as guilty. He's accelerated the torture, the black sites, the secret sites. That's now all admitted. These guys are all guilty. Just like they send people that are caught torturing to prison, well, they're the ones giving the orders. They're even more guilty. Linda, great hearing from you. Have a great New Year coming up. Be safe out there tonight. Let's talk to Dan in New Mexico. Dan, you're on the air.
Hello, Alex, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. And here's what I think the biggest story of 2010 was, and what I think the biggest thing is going to be in 2011. And I think it's Rand Paul getting elected. Everything that I've read is he's going to really hit the ground running. He's not going to be just a little wallflower freshman senator.
Stay there. I want to hear more from this because I'm glad you mentioned this. This is one of the points I wanted to make. That's why it's great taking the calls, because you raise all the points and more. And guess where Rand's going to be living? With his dad in his dad's condo in D.C. So the dad will be there with the advice, helping him. Not that Rand isn't incredibly smart. I mean, I saw Rand go from being well-spoken and a little more, just kind of provincial to being super hardcore, and he's just going to get better and better and better and better and better. We'll be right back.
Coming at you live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide. It's Alex Jones.
All right, under the Ice Age attack, we can't get a hold of Max Kaiser. So, too bad. Maybe we'll have him for the first of the year, one of our first guests. Maybe we should have him on the Sunday show. Maybe we should line that up for the second hour of the Sunday show. Got to get my Kaiser fix, because Jaron enjoys doing Kaiser imitations back there in the, who did I make the check out to? But little gallows humor there, my friends. Let's go back to your calls. And we were talking to, which caller was I talking to, John? Yeah, it was down in New Mexico. Let me just go ahead and give you the toll-free number, too. As you hear callers hang up, you're welcome to get on board, because I'm going to try to, in the new year, with a bunch of your calls, your predictions for the upcoming year, what you think was important last year. And I got a few little things I want to hit on as well. Dan was bringing up one of the biggest stories being Rand Paul. Regardless of what you think about Rand Paul, a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't matter if we get good people elected. You can't stop it. The solution isn't voting. Regardless, we have the issue of the media doing everything they could, saying he didn't have a college degree, a bachelor's. Well, because he was the top of his class and placed out. My dad did the same thing. A lot of people do. He placed out. He didn't have to finish. He went right into medical school. Then they said he was kidnapping women. They said he was, doing all these things. None of it was true, and they failed. In the past, they would succeed with something like that. People before, on average, would the mainstream media doesn't like him, I better vote against him. It didn't work. It doesn't work anymore. It's a badge of honor when the media lies about yours truly and says stuff. Go ahead, Dan, finish up your point.
Well, the other thing, Alex, that I think people need to understand is that in the case of Rand Paul, the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree. And Rand, I believe, understands that in terms of the debt, we're in the bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, and nobody's on. Now, what I think is going to be the two big things in 2011 is going to be the clash of the titans between Ron Paul and Bernanke and the continuing resolution in terms of funding the government. And I think things are going to come to a head as people begin to wake up more largely that we are in the bottom of the ninth with nobody on base, and this thing is really bad. And then the last thing I'd like to say that actually had a conversation about this, amazingly enough, over Christmas dinner around 9/11, and the conversation evolved to the point that says that the real way to get to unraveling this is to begin to enlarge the scope of the conversation to include the following, that says that, you know what, if George Bush says they attacked us because they hate our freedom, and you can only conclude from that A, they won, but the other side of it is the economics, which says that the ROI on the money spent on the war and terror has not brought a return. And to drill it down into that level of that paradigm, we're spending this money, and what have we got?
Well, but it's more than that, and I appreciate your call. Again, excellent points. The globalists love to hide things in plain view with riddles. The terrorist attacked us because they hate our freedom. The terrorist is the military-industrial complex that sits inside the banking cartel that's setting up the global eugenics government in that pyramidal structure. And, of course, they attacked us because they hate our freedom. It's true. It's just who they say attacked us isn't who really did it. And no one can deny, even if you believe the official fable of 9/11 that's been completely proven to be a fairy tale, who can deny they're using 9/11 to take our liberties and to rob us and to steal and to keep their crimes secret? No one can deny that. Let's continue here. Let's talk to Mark in Florida. You're on the air.
Excelsior, Alex. I'm hoping that the Patriots fare well in their 2011 attempts to wake up the ignorant population. It seems man will kill his fellow man for food, and that's evidenced by the government employees that attacked the Michigan mother that helped children on a school bus, and the police officer that beat up an old woman because she didn't water her lawn. But in the summertime, had she watered her lawn, she probably would have got beaten up for watering it.
No, I mean, that's the bottom line. A tyranny is where the criminal government erects laws so they can come suck off of us and feed off of us. They pass laws that in any common sense society would not be illegal.
Well, and I'm hoping the Patriots will fill up their city councils, because city council is where the blood draws begin. City council is where the fluoride begins. City council is where you get beat to death for watering your lawn begins. And the Patriots need to fill up the elected offices and
exactly.
Run the federal
You've
government.
got, and the state. I mean, the state needs to come together. And I appreciate the call. If you go back to the John Warner Defense Authorization Act, when we really knew this stuff was for real 3 years ago, it says for insurrection by the people of the states and the states to replace governors, to put a governor's council in, which they now did this year, 2010. And, I mean, they know it's legitimate, it's real, the states are the people, they can say no, and they're getting everything set up with the threat fusion centers and everything to take control of this country. It's an illegitimate hijacking, a usurpation. We're being usurped. Let's go ahead and talk to Kent in Ohio. Kent, you're on the air.
Hi, I've got just a couple of questions for you, Alex. I'm a Planet TV member, by the way.
Thank you.
Your show, we listen to it. My wife and I listen to it every single day. In 2010, it became apparent that the banks are insolvent, and the FDIC is shot, and cities and pensions are all bust, and debt won't be serviceable when the interest goes up, and they will go up. Crooks are trying to collapse it all. So I've got two questions. One, after the currency does collapse, and it probably will, right? And after the stores don't have a workable currency to buy food for their shelves, how long do you think it'll be before, a new currency gets in place and things will get back to normal and I'll be able to go back to the store again and buy some food? Will I need 6 months or 2 years, or how long do you think it will be before normalcy? Because everybody talks about everything collapsing, but how long will it be before things might come back to some kind of normalcy?
Well, again, that's a very complex question, and I appreciate that call. I mean, to try to answer that properly, it's not simple. The globalists have a lot of different tracks they're working on, and they have announced decades ago they wanted an Nimmo, and then 2010 the IMF announced they want a global Bancor or Bancor. And they've already are operating with a global digital currency, the SDR, that the global banks just issue to themselves. Here, want $1 trillion? Here, have another $1 trillion for themselves, while they shut down the regular economy and freeze lending at levels not seen in modern history. And so it really won't be the currency crashes overnight and then you just can't use it. It's just that things cost more. Then they have a public devaluation, and then they bring in a global cashless currency. Already, when you ship overseas, the Postal Service is in SDRs, okay? And we're already going into that. And so they just phase out cash. But under the SDR system, private banks,